one of our other colleagues would always tell me that I would get a lot of business because of three words. I would say, I don't care. And I'll be honest, this is what I tell my clients, especially sellers. Easiest way to make money in real estate is ask.
What I didn't know going in was that I thought people were going to respect me door knocking and reach out to me. You need to touch them a lot more than just talking to them one time. All right, guys, welcome to On That Level. I got my friend Tim Sherbring and also a business partner of mine. Today we're going to be covering a lot of things, but at the end we're going to go over the NAR settlement fallout, kind of our speculation, but there's a lot of great topics we're going to go over. We're going to start with success stories though. Tim, if you want to share maybe one or two success stories, yeah.
Success stories. Been in real estate 20 years. Probably do 25, 30 deals a year. So I don't know what that put me up to. But
What about a client success story?
client success story recently. I had somebody move down from Minnesota, found a great acreage outside of town. Um, Wheeling and dealing on some really good negotiations here this past week or two, where I felt we got great value for the home, and buyers, when we negotiated the deal out, came to our numbers versus us trying to settle for where they started and where they wanted to buy the house. We kind of held our ground, and buyers came up to pay our price. So sellers really like that when you're working for them to get top dollar.
Yeah. And I'll stay on the buy side as well. I had some clients move from Alabama real recently. We closed about a month ago now, and they actually came from my YouTube channel. So if you want to know more about YouTube for real estate, feel free to reach out. I've been getting clients. I actually close on one next Monday and close one another client last week. But anyways, they came to Cedar Rapids. That's where we're both from, and we both do real estate in Cedar Rapids. I also cover Iowa City, but anyways, they came and met with me probably 6 months before they bought a home. We were looking at quite a few homes, probably 6 to 10 homes, and we were not expecting to get the home because we were competing, and so we put a full price asking. It was a little bit underlisted, and we end up getting the home for around the appraisal came in $11,000 higher is a really good success. I feel like they already have equity. So I'd say that's probably one of the bigger success stories I've had at least this year.
Yeah, now that you said that, I had one over Marion probably about a month ago. Ours came in fit. We negotiated down 20, $30,000 probably, and the appraisal came in $15,000 over what the buyer paid for it. So that's always a good feeling having $15,000 in equity right out of the gate when you first move in. So hopefully the market continues to not be, I mean, this is a brutally honest interview, so home prices continuing to go up is not always a good thing, but it would be nice to have a more steady, gradual increase in home prices versus this craziness where home prices shot up 10, 20, 30% in a lot of markets over the last few years. So that to me just sets you up for a possible decline in home values or a longer period of time where home values don't go up. So my opinion, I feel a stronger market is, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5% a year, just a gradual increase in home values, just so we don't have the volatility of overpaying and then weathering a storm down the road whenever, if that storm comes. I mean, it's not guaranteed, but typically all markets have their ups and downs. So I would predict some sort of down period, but who knows? You just want to protect yourself for those.
Yeah, and you think a year ago we'd be talking about buyers on this side? Probably. We both brought up
No,
buyers, so that kind of shows where the market's at, in my opinion. Last year we probably would have been talking about a listing we had because you felt like you maybe got too much for the house as a listing agent.
oh, all of them, all
Yep.
of them. Every
But
one of
now
them.
this year we both have buyer stories, so it's kind of nice to see that you can win with buyers right now.
Well, I haven't thought about that way, but yeah, I mean that's a sign the market is starting to level up a little bit that you can actually negotiate below price where a year, 2, 3 years ago, there was no way or very, very small chance you were going to get a home under asking price. You almost had to
Now you
go for,
look at it and you're like, you still won. You thought you lost last year, but
yeah,
the prices still went up and you still were like, wow, I guess we didn't do so bad last year.
yeah, but yeah, we was very, very cautious trying to help buyers last couple of years of how high should you go over the asking price, and is it worth risking waiving any sort of appraisal contingency? So that's always dangerous waters. I don't like that as an agent trying to advise people on how to take the least amount of risk. I would rather take no risk and have a guarantee slam dunk. That's a no-brainer. Let's do that.
Yeah, and I think um, some of the mainstream coaching talks about trying to sell people on the house,
Yeah.
and go over all the nice features of this neighborhood and talk like a salesman. Tim kind of taught me this way, and I kind of was doing it naturally, but we like to, especially if you look at my YouTube channel, we like to talk about all the things that potentially could go wrong. That way you walk into the home and you're not disappointed or feel like you got caught in a home that you really don't want. So we just try to be brutally honest, like this video is going to be titled, and that's kind of how we go about real estate.
Yeah. I mean, I have friends and colleagues that make fun of me because they tell me I talk more people out of buying a house than I talk more people into buying a house. And I'm like, I'm not talking anybody into buying or not buying. That's not my job. My job is to point out possible pros, cons, headaches down the road, before you get into an accepted offer, spend some money on inspections or spend some money on appraisals, and then you find these blemishes or deficiencies, and then you're trying to get out of a contract, and that gets kind of messy. So, for the most part, you just try to point out things using your experience, bring it to their attention, and let the buyer or the seller, whoever you're working with, make their opinion of it. And I'm not a professional in all those industries, but I do know enough to point it out that if it's a concern, let's do that before we get 6 miles down the road and we're into a contract and we're 3 weeks before closing and now we're in a wildfire.
Absolutely. Well, I want to segue. Those are a couple success stories. I think it's important to always hear some success stories because you can get kind of negative minded if you're only talking about the problems in real estate. We want to give you a couple success stories, but negotiating for your client or client communication. So with that, I'll start on this one. For negotiating, you just gotta ask questions. You gotta figure out what the timeline is for the seller, what the if you're on the buy side. If you're on the selling side, you gotta figure out what where they're at on their purchase price. Like if you listed it high, you kind of know where you're gonna fall, right? So sometimes you can do a and Tim's really done well, and I've done well on this, is you counter unexpectedly to even get an acceptance. But we've been running into where we'll counter and we know we're high and they'll accept it. So what I'm trying to say is never assume anything in this business because you'll be surprised so many times. But what
Oh,
do you have to say about negotiating, Tim?
well, one, you're trying to feel the situation. Like it's always whoever your client is, like what's their motivation, right? Is it to get this particular house because you looked at 10, 20, 30 properties and this is the one they have, and we know this type of property doesn't come on the market very often? That's a completely different negotiation. Like we're going to go after it. We may go over asking, like we cannot let this one go. But there could be other properties where there's 17 of them on the market, and we're going to try to get the best deal we can. So if this is the one, let's go low and see if we can get it. If not, we'll move on to the next property. So it's all case by case. Sellers, a lot of times, if you can get the agent on the phone, because some of these agents will give you clues as to how bad they want the house and what their client situation is, and then you can hopefully maybe pull some intel and read between the lines and determine who's in the driver's seat for leverage. Because that's all it comes down to is who's more motivated to sell, the buyer or the seller. And it's kind of a cat and mouse game. And I've had many people say, let's come back at this number. And I'm like, if you want to, that's great. I don't think we need to go that low at this time. Let's just go with this number and see what happens. And like Tony says, they'll snap call you, and next thing you know, you get an accepted offer at that price. And typically, your client is very happy they did not go counter at a lower number. I mean, and I'll be honest. This is what I tell my clients, especially sellers. Easiest way to make money in real estate is ask. So once the offer comes in and it's our turn to counter, it's our turn to pick a value. Like, let's just ask for this number and see what happens.
Yeah.
Like at the end of the day, unfortunately, I think it happens more than it should. Is sometimes the agents are just trying to put the deal together to put it to bed and move on to the next transaction. I really do not try to fall into that. I've had deals not go together because of my negotiating skills, but talking with my client, that's what we wanted. And losing $5,000 on a negotiating deal, you look at your holding cost. If it's only 1,500 bucks a month in holding costs, we got 3 more months to try to sell that. And if you get more than that 5,000, you're still money ahead. But if there's too high of holding costs, the motivation is to sell. I think Tony just had one where the offer came in, and normally you would have said, "Hey, I want more money, or let's go get more money." But the situation wasn't there, and you took the offer to put it to bed because the risk was too high to not take the offer.
Yeah, and I think a good trick that I kind of learned from Tim is, like you said, ask. Maybe you know your client would accept that, but maybe you ask the buyer, well, what about instead of 200, what about 2025? And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you get them to write 2025 and you got your person another 200 or $2,500. So there's little tricks like that you can do in this industry, but at the end of the day, it is situational, like Tim says. The one that I just put on contract as a listing, we've been we've had two offers in. It's the home's got the situation. I don't want to get too in detail because I don't want to disrespect my clients, but it has a situation. We went back and forth. We lost two offers because of different reasons. Now we're finally under contract again, and it's a good deal. And we didn't want to push our luck at all, being that we've already lost two deals, and my clients are very well of the situation of the house. And at this point, they just want to sell. And yeah, it was a good deal. But I've had I don't want to I know it's brutally honest, but some of my clients have been kind of difficult, but Tim and I both talked about this. We get paid well as agents, so I don't want to sit here and complain about my clients because that's what we get paid to do. But Tim, how do you deal with a client that may be unreasonable or borderline unethical?
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, they're hiring you to help them, right? So whatever they ask you to do, you have to determine whether it puts your licensing at risk, right? So there's a lot of people that don't know law, they don't know rules as that we can or cannot say as agents. So you always got to stay current with that. You do not want to put yourself at risk, right? But if there's things that come into play, you try to give them the best advice that you can. I mean, we've all dealt with people that want to get out of a contract right before closing. We've all had deals try to do stuff on inspections, not put stuff on a property disclosure. We've all had those people trying to be cutting corners. And at the end of the day, that it's your risk tolerance. I mean, I just had one the other day. There's an abandoned well on the property, and they felt like they maybe should or should not disclose that. And I'm like, well, disclose it. I mean, it's factual information. Just put it out there. Why run the risk of 5 years down the road they want to build something and there's a well and it wasn't disclosed? That's how you get yourself in trouble. So, and plus, anytime on disclosures, the more you disclose, once the offer comes in and you guys are in negotiations or they do inspections and they find out this is wrong or this is there, if they did not read the disclosure close enough, you now have something as leverage that says, well, you knew about that when you made the offers right on the property disclosure. So I try to get them to be, any sort of broken window panes, doors that don't work, you don't have keys for the front door. So they're doing their final walkthrough. Like, where's the keys? Like, we don't have the keys. That was on the disclosure. So I use that as a protectant. So a lot of people don't want to disclose and don't want to, maybe quote unquote be ethical, but I try to advise them against it and talk to them about the positive of why it's good to be open about these things because it's less headache down the road.
Yeah. And I'll kind of go over a situation. I'm gonna keep it pretty vague just for my clients, because I don't want to give anything out if my clients are watching this. But one guy that I've recently helped, he didn't feel like I was this is on the buying side, and he didn't feel like he got enough value out of his home. He was well aware that of his options for if he did back out. Very nice home, but maybe felt like he bought a little bit too high price where it was. So that's why you always make sure you run your comps, you do your due diligence on the buy side. Tim was talking on the listing side, but on the buy side, you can I've run into, you know, where the lot lines are. Almost, I mean, I didn't get in trouble, but I didn't do my due diligence as a newer agent. Um, and those things can come out to bite you. So one of the things I always do now, is I always try to look at the lot lines and show my clients and make them aware. So if the neighbor, a year down the line says, "Hey," or right after closing, sometimes they try to do it. They say, "Your concrete pad or your garage is on my lot, and I want X amount of money." Right? There's no agreement in place, so you want to avoid as many situations. A lot of times it takes experience, and that's why we are making this channel and why we're doing this is because we feel like we have a lot of value to give to other agents. And if you want to have a conversation with Tim or I about your real estate business, or if you're looking to become a real estate agent, we're always brutally honest about everything. That's why we made our first video, brutally honest advice for realtors. But there's so many things to go into on the listing side, on the buy side. We can't cover everything, but the thing is that can save you when you feel, even maybe you aren't comping the property out is there is an appraisal done. And yes, I feel like it's a little bit biased and they shouldn't be meeting certain prices. But at the end of the day, if the bank's willing to lend the money, you know, then if your client agrees to maybe too much on a house, at least you got to put all the factors in place, show them the comps, say, well, the seller's not going to sell it for that. So you can either walk or you can go to their price. And you always try to exhaust all the options of negotiating and go over every detail with them so they are getting the right price on their home. And if it is a little bit high, this guy at least he was not in a great living situation, so he has a house now. That's a positive. So sometimes you don't always win and every situation's different, and that's how I just try to put myself in their shoes and the best I can, and that's just how I went from day one. But Tim, let's move on to something that every agent should be focusing on, and maybe I don't know any agent that does probably as good as they should, and that is networking and finding clients because that really is the name of the game. So, what are, I guess, one or two or three different things that you would tell if you were starting from scratch, what you would do?
Oh, starting from scratch, I would reach out to every single for sale by owner possible and see if you can get to talk to them. Um, and first off, you're probably not going to get a lot of them. And people see that as a disappointment and a negative that I missed on that. Um, but I'm telling you, if you're starting out and you get 1 out of 10, 1 out of 20, you're doing fantastic. Because I'll tell you, the one that you got isn't the value. It was talking to the other 19 people and trying to figure out how to communicate your value to people. Even when you lose, it doesn't matter. You're still winning by just trying.
And
Because
trying to get instead of 1 out of 20, 2 out of 20 now, and
that's
one
it.
out of 10.
Yes. And then you just keep working your way up. It takes time. Um, it's a great learning on the fly because those are people that own a property trying to sell it, and most likely they're selling by owner because they don't like agents. They don't want to pay real estate agents. They agents make way too much money. You don't bring value, blah 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 blah. You'll hear it all. But what happens is you learn very quickly how to overcome those objections sitting at the table. You can role play all you want with your friends and your colleagues in your office, but I'm telling you, it's not like talking to a buyer owner. If you're going to role play with somebody, why not talk to the person themselves? I mean, it makes no sense for me and Tony to sit here and role play what we would do or what we would say. Doesn't matter. Go talk to the people, right? And
Save a
figure
lot
out,
of time. You could reach out to 10, 20 of them and maybe get an appointment,
yes,
and doing that
yeah.
role play session.
And then at that point in time, once you get the appointment, you literally go in, figure out the situation, what their needs are, what they're expecting, and then it's up to you to bring value and charge a fee that is agreeable by all parties. I mean, that's the easiest way to go get a listing. Other ways, I would lean on other colleagues to, especially to maybe like do some open houses, but even tag along with other colleagues to watch them go through a transaction. So that way, if you do land your first deal, you have some sense of direction and what to expect as the process. So even when you're out there prospecting and all that, I would still try to piggyback somebody who has two, three, four, five deals going. So you can kind of see some of the fires that come up and expectations and how to put those out or how to prevent some of those. Because just getting the listing, I mean, that's the hardest battle. But also, you don't want to get the listing and then not have any idea what you're doing because then you're not going to get the referral down the line. So I would still be educating yourself along the way. I would sign up for Upnest, Ojo, Ideal Agent, Zillow, whatever, Realtor.com, which is Op City. I mean, I would sign up for as many of that stuff as you can. Who cares about the referral fees and the commissions as a new agent because you're just trying to get off the ground. I mean, that's brutally honest. That's what I do, or I would do. As you get to be more seasoned, then you decide, how many for sale by owners you want to call, how many programs you want to sign up and pay referrals, because it may switch to you're now going to focus more on sphere of influence and past clients because you have a database that you can reach out to. But first and foremost, you got to create that database. And me, nothing better than a for sale by owner in the yard. Even open houses, how to talk to people, they're coming in, just things they say, how they act. I mean, you're just educating yourself every opportunity you can. And I don't know any better way than a guy with a sign in the yard and somebody out there looking at homes who are trying to buy. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a free education.
Yeah. And a couple things that, because I'm not new to the industry. This is going to be my fourth year, but I'm a little bit fresher on this. If I were to start from scratch in a new market, like Tim said, I'd have someone in my corner in that market, whether I'm paying them a referral, whether I'm um, at the same brokerage, I don't care who it is.
Getting revenue share.
You need someone that you can have the confidence that you can get the deal done, right? So you don't want that in the back of your mind because at the end of the day, you need to let that stuff go. You just need to go, honestly. But you probably should have someone that knows what they're doing at least if you are a newer agent or not experienced enough to feel comfortable because that sits in the back of your mind and makes you not do deals, right?
Yeah.
Because you don't have the confidence to even talk to the person across the table.
Yeah,
But
don't worry about all the possibilities of what could go wrong and what you don't know. Do not do that. Go get a listing, go get a buyer, and have somebody you can lean very heavily on to
and give
talk them
someone
through.
Just give
And
them
you'll just,
someone half the deal if you have to. I mean, to get help. Believe me, there's someone that's experienced that will take 50% to help you.
oh, yeah,
You should do less than that. Brutally honest, you should do 25%.
yeah.
Um,
I mean, if you're truly trying to help them out and want to do what's best, you should know that we were all there at one point in time that you don't need any money to help somebody. But if it's their eighth deal, sixth deal, and they're still can't figure it out, then you would probably start charging some money because it's a lot of time. But honestly, the industry, unfortunately, it's all about making a dollar or even a penny. And so there are a lot of agents that won't give you any time unless you give them dollars.
I would
And
just make sure that that's handled because
yes,
you do get
yeah,
someone, you just want to get this stuff done, and then you want to be able to do a good job for them, right?
for
And
sure.
the second thing is when you're doing this, make sure you have, I don't care if it's an Excel spreadsheet, I don't care what you do, CRM, doesn't matter. Have some way of doing a follow-up system. Tim and I are not the most organized agents, right? Honestly, but there's tools out there. We have Lofty at our brokerage. You put them in there, you set a calendar date. You can go and do all these drip campaigns. I just don't believe in them. I think that they are too robotic, and there's no one size fits all for conversation. I just haven't I've tried it and I just don't like it personally. But it doesn't matter if that's your way of doing it, you feel comfortable with how it's working, just make sure you have something on the back end because I door knocked the first year and I probably only have like 20 of those contacts and I probably got 1,000, 500,000 my first year in real estate. So you don't want to lose people's emails when you get them. Have some sort of back end also touching them. So, because what I didn't know going in was that I thought people were going to respect me door knocking and reach out to me. You need to touch them a lot more than just talking to them one time. So make sure you have a back end. But I want to answer this very quickly. If I were starting, agree with Tim, maybe add expireds in there if
Oh
I,
yeah.
but buy owners to me are the number one, then expires, and then do whatever you want. Honestly, door knock, circle prospect, the more
Talk to your
broad
neighbors,
stuff.
talk to your neighbors, talk to your friends, just have conversations about real estate. And that's the other thing is instead of just reaching out to people and talking to people, I would spend a lot of time knowing your market, like knowing what's coming on the market, knowing how many days they're on the market, if they're getting full asking price, over asking price, like really try to have a full understanding of what the market is because they're all going to ask you that question. And the more analytics and facts that you can state about specific homes in the area or people that have sold, you gain immediate respect because they know you're involved in the market. So make sure you are educating yourself on what the market is doing.
And I may change my mind on this, so I want to put that as a prerequisite. I'll let Tim answer it. Maybe I change my mind. I chose YouTube. Would I tell someone to do YouTube? Probably not, honestly, because first you gotta love it. Second, it's a ton of work, you know, or it's a lot of money to put into it, and it's just a lot to do. But it is very, very fruitful and a great way to get your own clients in all of social media for that fact. If you're not going to put the time in for consistency on it, I would just do a weekly email, honestly, and focus on reaching out to buy owners, reaching out to expireds. And if you contact all of them, get good at that, and have maybe a email that you send them or market information like Tim saying, have some sort of system built around that. You can honestly probably forget about the social media, just have a page that goes out there, but look at Tim. Tim doesn't do anything on social media, honestly, and he does 30, 35 deals a year. So you don't need to do have social media. If you like it, if you're going to be consistent on it, I think it's a very good tool to use, but it's not needed. I feel like a lot of people push people to do that when they're just going to do it for a month and then slowly trickle off of it. Don't do anything that you don't love when it comes to that. And if it's taken too much time away from the important things, like we both said, buy owners. If you really want to be successful, get listings. Buy owners are the best tool out there. And I've put a lot of time in YouTube. I like it, but I would never tell someone to do YouTube over buy owners, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you're never going to do it all. The list is unlimited with TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, church groups, neighborhoods,
It's a good
volunteer.
long-term approach. There's nothing wrong with it. Like it's a good branding tool. That's why I'm not going to tell anyone not to do YouTube because
Yeah.
it has branded me well, and it's more of a long game. But if you want, let's be honest, you can't wait 6 months to get paid. Like people say that, but you shouldn't be doing that. You should be going out getting deals within the first month. And you can do it if you have, you can do it in our market at least. I'm not saying that every market has the buy owner situation we do because they don't, right? But if you have expireds, right? If you work hard enough, you can find a deal in the first month. You can. It's just
Yeah.
up to you. You really got to work hard and you got a lot of competition out there and you got to be able to take that competition in stride because you're going to lose and you're going to lose a lot. And people are
That's
going to lie
awesome.
to you. People are going to, and they're going to, it's a tough road. Being an entrepreneur is not meant to be easy. That's why only a certain percentage of the population can handle it, honestly.
Yeah. And one of our other colleagues would always tell me that I would get a lot of business because of three words. I would say, I don't care. Like, well, this other agent said this, I don't care. Well, we need to sell our house tomorrow. Like, I don't care. I mean, it doesn't bother me. Whatever they say, I don't try to get too emotionally involved in it because I know they have the emotional side of it. I'm not trying to put gasoline on that fire. I'm actually trying to take the emotion out of it, make it a calmer situation. Like, I don't care you guys are getting divorced. I don't care you're getting married. I don't care you're moving out of state. I don't care. All this stuff is, I'm not going to get tied into that. What I am doing though is listening to the situation and trying to say, okay, here's what I'm thinking. Like, I'm not going to get, oh my gosh, you guys are getting divorced and let's talk about the divorce. No, we're here to help you sell a house. And you bring them with information, you bring them with options. You, I'm sitting here in front of you to provide you opportunities and options for me to help you with your problem. And if it doesn't work or you pick somebody else, congratulations. I'm super happy I had a chance to talk to you because I learned something from the situation, whatever it was.
Yeah.
So
And
the negativity and the losses are actually wins. And I think 90 some percent of realtors look at it as a loss every single time.
well, sometimes I think this goes for everyone, but sometimes the hardest deals are the ones that you learn 90%, 95% of everything in real estate and how to deal with people because that's what it is. If everything went perfect, you won't learn much.
Well,
But
I mean, we'll end it on this, Tony. We'll wrap it. But when you first started and you were talking to buy owners, how successful were you, and how disappointed, and what was your perspective of buy owners?
yeah, so I
I mean, just briefly.
briefly, I was a corrections officer. I quit my job, went full time at a local brokerage, and I had no direction. I believed the mainstream coaching, and I honestly just drilled them with questions and I don't even remember the questions, but they were not they were not conversational. They were like, I'm an agent, I'm a professional, you need to listen to me. Um, you're gonna fail type of questions. I don't remember verbatim what I said,
And
but
how successful were you? How
I I think
successful?
I got one and I made a lot of calls. I made a lot of calls. I got one by owner
One
and
out of how many? 100?
probably
One out of
probably
100,
at least maybe
right?
200.
And
And
and the
almost every conversation went the wrong way at first. Um,
and what was your perspective of those people? Were you the bad guy or were they the bad people?
honestly, I would have to say they were the bad person, but the good thing
Yeah,
about what I was doing is I was so dang busy at that time with Zillow leads because my brokerage had it that I just made calls when I could and it didn't bother me too much because
yeah,
I just so busy honestly that year and
yeah,
it
yeah,
was the booming year, right? That
yeah.
was it 2021 or 22, 21, beginning of 2021. So I got so busy with Zillow leads I kind of fell off, but I also just went about it the exact wrong way. And
Yeah,
if
yeah,
you
yeah.
want to know how we talk to them, it goes so well. I almost never have a bad conversation. Every once in a while, someone's a big prick or big, um, just a mean person, just has a terrible life, obviously. and they
Or if it was bad timing and you caught them at a wrong time and they're just going to unleash on you. No, there's
just
nothing
fine.
wrong with that.
Which,
Yes.
which goes into what Tim said. I don't take it personal. I just say,
No.
okay, yeah. I mean, uh, you don't have to talk to me. You don't have to. I
No.
was just
It's
asking you to see if potentially I could bring you a buyer because I do kind of want to know what buy
yeah.
owners are out there. And I've had times where I've looked back at my text messages and see that they're paying me. So we go and show that home, and we have a. I've actually put one under contract and end up falling apart, but that's a long story. But I want to get into this, Tim. I know you got to go. I just want 2, 3 minutes. NAR settlement fallout. I know people are watching maybe to the end and want to know maybe your take or my take on what you see as a fallout on this.
as a fallout for me personally, like me, I mean, there's two different ways to look at it.
Brutally honest.
What I think the majority of agents will do is one thing, but at the end of the day, I don't control the other agents. So I'll just tell you what I feel about it. And honestly, it doesn't change one thing because that's how I ran my business the entire time. Um, I've gone in with flexibility and options that my agreement, if I'm working with a seller, and I just had this conversation yesterday, I'm here to get you the most amount of money. And so whatever the buyer agents are making or doing, it's irrelevant. I'm going to charge you this amount of money for the listing. The thing I did not like in years past is that I could not negotiate my buyer commission to help my buyer get a property. It was illegal to put the commissions into the purchase agreement. You could not negotiate that. Now, I love the fact that if a buyer calls me and wants to go look at 1, 3, 5, 10, 20, 30, 40 homes, I can now factor in the distance and the time and what this is all going to take. And I'm going to charge accordingly. Where, just for an example, if I'm showing a buddy a house, one house, and it's a 500,000 house and they're offering 3%, is it worth 15 grand to go show one house and close in 30 days with a cash offer? Is that worth 15 grand? Traditional agents are going to say yes all day long. You know, me, why isn't it worth two and a half, one and a half, $500, $10? I mean, I get the flexibility to charge whatever I want to help my people accomplish their goal. If they're a buyer, that's to go get that property before anybody else does. So it gives me a ton of flexibility. On the listing side, doesn't change anything with me because I negotiate my commission, and then the seller can say I'm offering out nothing, 1%, 2%, 3, 4, 7, 20, 8%, doesn't matter. They get to offer out an incentive for buyers and agents uh, that are working together to bring them an offer, and there's going to be incentivization. So I'm all about flexibility. I really think the general public wins in this scenario. And we as agents should embrace this because if you're a 5% agent and you value that you should get 5% on every house, you have nothing to worry about because you're a better agent than me. You're going to bring more value than me, and I'm going to do it for whatever I feel. I came from the construction industry. Not everybody charges the same to pour concrete. Not everybody charges the same to roof a house. Not everybody charges the same to build a deck. Everybody has the ability to charge whatever they want according to the situation. And now real estate's in the same boat. So I think it's fair. I know a lot of traditional agents won't see it that way, but we're brutally honest.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I kind of I do agree a lot with Ricky Kruth, which is a big I guess I don't know, figure in the real estate agent space.
And,
I
and if
agree
you
with a lot
don't know Ricky Kruth, look him up on YouTube and just listen. You don't have to agree with him on everything. You don't
but
even
he
have to like
walks the walk.
whatever.
You can
But I'm
respect
telling
that.
you, that's how we built our business was that model. Not everything he says, but for the most part, we have the same mentality.
And at the end of the day, like Ricky says, I want to know the rules so I can put that all behind me and I can help people with
That's
buy
right.
and sell real estate. That's our job. I think what us agents need to do is kind of shut up about the whole thing and let it play out, know the new rules, and then go out and help people. That's it. I think these news stories are feeding off of agents getting in the comment section, going nuts, saying, I'm going to charge them 6% and I'm going to dual agent everything and blah, 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 right? Why feed into this? Like, let's just we're not in control of this. No, I don't know one agent that can do anything about this. So if you can, let me and Tim know, and I want to hear your side of the story. But I look at this as like the weather. I can't control how this plays out. All I can do is continue to help people, continue to do what I do, and try to treat people the right way and build a business, like Tim said, of people that you've contacted in the past. They know, like, and trust you. And guess what? They're probably going to contact you the next time they have a need or send your name to someone. That's what you need to focus on. I'm kind of brushing the whole thing off to the side. I just got to know what legally I need to do, and I'm going to go
Correct.
out and do it the correct way.
And, and I'll go back to the traditional model and compare it to the new model where everything's negotiable. And I've been trying to do this for 20 years because if you disagree with me, I'd love to have the conversation with you because I love learning and maybe I'm way off base. But how many homes are the exact same? How many sellers are the exact same? How many neighborhoods are the exact same? How many markets are the exact same? How many times is interest rates, supply and demand? How many times are real estate agents the exact same with levels of experience and what they're offering? If the home's going to sell in 2 weeks or if the home's going to sell in 9 months, why is the commission the same for 100, 200, 300, 400, 900,000 when all these variables are in play? Why should the commission be quote unquote set at a similar fee that everybody should charge, no matter what the experience is, no matter the situation, no matter any of those variables? We need to charge this. It never made sense to me. And now with this lawsuit, it forces the hand of agents to negotiate their value according to the situation. And now the buyer and the seller have a say in it as to what the compensation is. And I think it's completely fair.
Yeah.
So, if somebody wants to use me and I got to drive an hour every time to show a house, that's going to be a much higher commission than my best buddy wanting to go buy my neighbor's house and pay cash in 30 days. Those are not the same commissions. Not even close.
Yeah, and I mean, at the end of the day, what makes you if you have to answer this yourself. Maybe you're the top agent watching this. Maybe you're just getting started. What makes you as good as the top agent in your market? Like, why would someone that doesn't know you off the streets, you call them and you talk to them, why should they not go with the number one agent in your market over you?
For
If
the
you're not
same
providing
price.
anything different, why should you charge the exact same as the person that may has 20, 25 years of experience and is a household name?
Yep. Go in any other industry, dentistry, doctors, mechanics, carpentry, any sort of business. Some guy that has 25 years of experience versus the new guy. Do you think they're charging the same prices?
Yeah, if you're going to get your car fixed, are you going to go to the guy that everyone knows and is has a good name over 25 years, or are you going to go to the guy that just started his own auto body shop? Are you going to expect the
He, he,
same charge? Maybe you are.
maybe, yeah, maybe you'll
I'm
pay the
not.
guy the same.
I know I'm not. So that's the way
Yeah.
I look at it. Um, you need to get experience. The more experience you have, the more busy you get, the more confidence you get.
Yes.
Guess what? Your prices are probably going to go up. So
Yes.
that's just the reality of the situation. It's not this one size fits all that if you negotiate your commission, you're not going to negotiate for your client. It's the biggest BS I've ever heard. I don't know. That is not 100% true. Now, there may be people that negotiate their commission that do that. But for the most part, if I'm am negotiating my commission, I'm going to give the same level of service as someone that maybe the traditional agent got X amount of percent. That I just think that that is thrown around, and I don't like that about the
Well, at
industry.
the end of the
That
day, don't do that. Basically, what we're saying is don't do that. If
yeah,
you're getting less money, don't give less service. Go whatever service you were going to give for $1 million, give more than that. Always give the top level of service, no matter what the dollar is. It doesn't
because guess
matter.
what? If you charge, who cares what you charge? Less than what your market supports, but you do a great job, and then they send you a referral, and then that person ends up selling the house that maybe you represented as a buyer. Are you better off trying to force them into the highest commission, and then they maybe realize that and go to me or Tim or anyone that maybe is doing that has they've heard does a great job and doesn't charge the same amount of money or whatever the scenario is. What do you think the better odds are? That you were fair with them, that you looked at the situation, talked logically, said, "Hey, your home's in beautiful shape. You're willing to price it at this price. It's probably going to sell right away. You've done everything right. So I'm going to charge you a little bit less because of that situation." Do you think that they're going to respect that? Or do you think that if you go in there and every single house, you're like, "I'm charging this," which situation makes more sense is our question, I guess.
Hey, brutally honest here, Tony. I got to negotiate this deal. I got to get going. We're at 45 minutes.
Yeah.
I said I'd call her at 10:30, but
All right, guys. Well, thanks for watching. Make sure to like, comment, and definitely subscribe. It really helps this channel grow from the ground up. Like brutally honest, this is our first video, so make sure to like, comment, and definitely subscribe, guys. And thanks.
thank you guys. Appreciate it. Thanks, Tony.
Yep. See ya.